What's up, all my movie loving maniacs? This is your boy Bangful B, and I'm gonna stop and give you my general thoughts on some of the announcements that came out during D23. I'm not gonna do every single announcement, I'm just gonna do some of the ones that stood out to me the most. So let's get into it. We got our first sneak peek at the Wizards of Waverly Place reboot titled Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. The central focus is Justin Russo and his kids and him training them to be wizards, and we do get an appearance from Alex Russo, played once again by Selena Gomez. In fact, one of the kids reminds him of his own sister, Alex Russo. Now, as someone that had a crush on Selena Gomez at a point, I am curious about the show, but I don't expect Selena Gomez herself to be in the show too often since she's not necessarily the central focus of the show. But regardless, it is nice that she is going back to the show that pretty much jump-started her career as an actress. We got a new trailer and poster for Moana 2, which comes out in November, and as someone that loved the first movie, I am excited for this, and I'm excited to see how Moana steps into the big sister role. Frozen 3 was announced and is slated to come out in 2027, and there's even a fourth film on the way, to which I'm like, okay, let's focus on the third movie first before we talk about the fourth film. And I thought the third film would have been a nice little trilogy capper right there. But as far as my personal experience with Frozen, I mean, I do have some slight disdain towards the franchise, but I do enjoy the first movie for what it was. The second movie was but my nieces love those movies, but by the time Frozen 3 and 4 come out, hopefully they'll be out of that age where I don't have to take them to go see it. Zootopia 2 is announced, and the only real information we got out of that is Ki Hoi Kwan will be voicing a reptile. I don't know how Zootopia 2 is going to play out, but I am happy Ki Hoi Kwan is continuing to get work after his success with Everything Everywhere All at Once. After all this time, after Pixar's inception, they're finally going to try their hand at television with a show called Win or Lose. Toy Story 5 is slated to come out in 2025, and the premise of this movie is the toys fighting for attention from the kids that like their phones and tablets and all that. Now, without a question, this franchise should have ended after 3, but they got lucky with that fourth film. And I was against a fifth film because it's like, alright, y'all pushing y'all luck here right now. But after hearing this premise, I'm like, go on. Besides, this premise was inevitable because of the tablet generation. One of Pixar's more original movies that's coming up is called Hoppers, and it's about these people that turn into electronic animals so that they can interact with other animals. I'm like, okay, but hey, Pixar has given us insane premises, so hey, anything could happen because they've all turned out great, though some. The Incredibles 3 is in the works, and Brad Bird returns to direct after making the first two films. As a fan of The Incredibles, I am excited about this, and despite the fact that I did like The Incredibles, I thought it was a mistake by not doing a dime jump, and I hope they do that with this film. A live-action version of Lilo and Stitch comes out next year, and they released a teaser trailer giving us our first look at CGI Stitch, which some people thought looks cute, and some people thought he looks a little bit ugly. But we knew this was coming sooner or later, and they can't keep pulling from the 90s, so the early 2000s was inevitable. Personally, I'm a little fatigued with live-action remakes of Disney classics, but I'll wait to see a full trailer to see if this movie actually gives us something different or it's just more of the same from the original. We get the title of Avatar 3, which is titled Avatar Fire and Ash, and it is slated to come out next year in 2025. We get our first trailer for Star Wars The Skeleton Crew, which comes out December 3rd, and from what I saw in the trailer, I was a little intrigued because it looks like they're taking a more classic American greedy kind of feel to sticking with George Lucas because that's one of his first films, but they're also taking a Stranger Things approach to this, which I think is different from Star Wars, but is definitely needed. So, I'm cautiously optimistic, especially everything that's happened with Star Wars lately, but we'll see. Jon Favreau announced that they are currently shooting The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is supposed to be the culmination of all these Disney Plus shows, so I can't really give you how I feel about this movie until we see a trailer, but hey, at least we're getting something with The Mandalorian, which is one of the best things Star Wars has going for it right now. They show some footage of Captain America Brave New World, which comes out in February of next year, and we get a full look at Red Hulk, and he looks okay for the most part, but I want to wait and see the movie. The Ironheart show is still happening, and one little detail that they told us is that Riri Williams gets expelled from MIT, so that's something that I kind of want to see. Maybe she got expelled because of all the shit she did in Wakanda Forever, so that's an interesting start right there. But I am happy Ryan Coogler is involved in this. I don't know whether or not he's a director or he's just a creator, but the fact that his hands are on this, awesome, because he's one of my favorite modern filmmakers right now, and I want to see him succeed. We got a new trailer for Agatha All Along, and it looks better than the last trailer, but I honestly don't know what to make of this show yet. And finally, they showed some footage of Daredevil Born Again, which is slated to come out in March of next year, which I'm excited for because at that point, it'll been 10 years since the Netflix version of this show came out. But what excited me is that we get the returning cast from the original Netflix show. Of course, Charlie Cox is returning as Matt Murdock / Daredevil. Vincent D'Onofrio is returning as the Kingpin. But we gotta look at John Berthal returning as the Punisher, and Eldon Hansen and Deborah Ann Wool returning as Karen and Foggy Nelson, which I'm super excited back. They're getting back all the original players. I'm super excited for that, so that gives me hope for the show. But I still want to see a trailer. Let's see what this looks like, because Daredevil was one of the best things Marvel has going for it when it was under Netflix, that is. And lastly, before I forget, we get Tron Eras, which is slated to come out at the end of next year, which I'm super excited for because I like the Tron movies, especially Tron Legacy. I was hoping that we get a third Tron movie at some point, though I am curious as to who's going to do the soundtrack since Daft Punk retired. And then my sister told me just now via text that Nine Inch Nails is going to do the soundtrack, to which I had to do some research, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who did the soundtrack to one of my favorite movies of the year, Challengers, and one of my favorite soundtracks that came out of this year, so that gives me hope for the music. But Tron as a whole, I can't wait to revisit this universe. So those are my thoughts on the announcements that came out of D23, and by announcements, I mean the ones that stood out to me the most and that I care about the most. So what do you think of some of these announcements? Let me know in the comments section below.